technology that's broken. It's not just computer algorithms. You know, the craziest story, if it doesn't get oxygen, doesn't go anywhere. A really good blogger, a friend of mine named Heather Parton, she blogs under the name Digby, came up with something once called Cokie's Law. She said she took an article in which Cokie Roberts talked about this crazy Clinton conspiracy theory back in the 90s, and she said, well, I need to talk about it because this is what people are talking about when I go to the beauty parlor, right? This is the role that people in the media have to actually think responsibly about behavior that's irresponsible and call it like it is. Well, so you just did a great job saying that, you know, the Republicans, you know, are spreading disinformation. That's what we need to do, call it out, well, you know, not just repeat it.
They're gatekeepers as well, and the major gatekeepers are Google, Facebook,
that's right,
Twitter, and you know, for any of us that have had problems before with Google, and I certainly have, I could have cured cancer. And you still would type in my name, and a conspiracy theory would come up. And at the end of the day, that was Google's responsibility because they were the publisher.
Well,
now
that's right. And those places can be much better regulated.
But it is the same thing with this fake news. Facebook, we had Kamala Harris on the other day. She just didn't want to come out and say that Facebook needed to be more aggressively regulated in these fake news areas, or Twitter.
Look, in Germany, you can go on Twitter and you can change your settings to make it seem like you're in Germany, and you will not get Nazis in your Twitter feed because they've done the job as a democratic nation of saying we want to regulate this.
That is a fundamental difference between how Europeans think about free speech and privacy and how we think about free speech and privacy.
Well, it's just not engraved on stone tablets.
And I think you have to ask yourself the question of which is right. In other words, I agree with you, Joe, that nobody wants to see stuff on Google that is wrong or out of context. But what do we do about it as a free speech country?
Well, how about Facebook responding to subpoenas with a little more responsibility?
I will tell you this. If newspapers allowed the publishing of the things that Google had allowed, and I'm talking about in the past.
They say they're not newspapers.
I would have been able to I wouldn't be here today because I would have sued them and I would be living off of the settlement. Now,
that's not a regulatory issue, though. That's personal responsibility.
At some point, we are going to have to treat Facebook and Twitter the way they are. I've said it before. If Walter Cronkite had if 55% of Americans got their news from Walter Cronkite in 1971, and he was knowingly allowing Soviet propaganda on the airwaves, please don't tell me that the federal government wouldn't have stepped in. And I'm sick and tired of people saying that we should have some Wild West view of how we regulate the internet, how we regulate Facebook, how we regulate Twitter. I don't know if people understand this. Our democracy is under attack. Not only did the Russians try to impact our elections, you know what else they did? Just last week, they tried to impact an investigation into them trying to impact our election with Release the Memo, with Russian bots.
No, exactly.
You tell me, why is Twitter not held to a minimal standard of not when our democracy is at risk?
No, this is a difficult.
It is at risk.
This is a difficult conversation to have. You know, I've been a journalist all my life, dedicated to the First Amendment. But we need to have this conversation. We need to talk about this fake news issue and get our arms around it because it is incredibly destructive.
If we're going to have that conversation, then we have to have it.
And by the way, it happens on both sides. And when Republicans are victims of it, and by the way, I was a victim of this when I was a conservative Republican congressman.
You still are.
No, I'm not a congressman now.
Well.
I'm still conservative.
There's broken news here today.
There are a lot fewer of us these days. No, I am conservative. Nobody else, Noah's conservative. There's still a few conservatives.
Joe, you've really gotten to the heart of the issue. We need to think about the social media platforms as what they are. Publishers. And in the court of law and in the court of public opinion, they are fighting this. They're acting like corporations that only care about making as much money as possible, hand over fist, and have no civic responsibility.
And by the way,
that
Google
has to end.
Also, publishers. They are publishers. And again, they acted responsibly in my case after about a decade. But what you see, you're exactly right. If somebody does a fascist video, a neo-Nazi video, or a fake video, Nobody's going to see it unless Google puts it out there, Twitter puts it out there, Facebook puts it out there, and lets it go viral.
But who is going to decide what is on Google and what's not on Google? Who decides
what the New York Times can put out there?
It's in
the law.
Editors.
No, yeah, but guess what? New York Times steps over the line,
it's a
then
law.
they will be sued.
And we have that same thing with Google.
No, we don't.
Well, we can't.
No, we don't.
Ireland
has Ireland has it. Other European countries have it. We don't have it. And to say that somehow...
Joe, what we are talking about... Yeah, what we are talking about there are the institutions of democracy. And if our democracy and Republican form of government is undermined by disinformation campaigns, like you say, then there isn't going to be a free press. So the media needs to think about the very institutions of democracy and how we can shore them up if we want to keep this system of government, like Abraham Lincoln said.
To undermine our democracy.
And by the way, guess what? Guess what? It goes back to money. Why doesn't Kamala Harris want to come on our show? And we're so glad she did. But why wasn't she aggressively going after Facebook and Twitter and tech companies? Because she represents them. She's in California. She represents them. And if she's going to run for president, this, by the way, applies to everybody running for president, not just her. You're not going to want to cross Facebook. You're not going to want to cross Twitter.
I don't think she'll have a problem.
You're not going to want to face Google. Yes, you will. Okay. Don't kid yourself. They all will. They all will have a trouble. And that's where we stand. I want to ask you before we go, Rick.
I think Mika was trying to say something there. What were you saying, Mika?
No, I just don't think Kamala Harris will have a hard time crossing Facebook and these companies when she is across the table from them. I think she's trying to work with them, which is why she wasn't strong on the show
I'm curious, did your earpiece go out? Did you not hear her say that before? I knew she was trying to say something, and she said it, and then I followed up. Hey, Alex? Alex?
Yeah.
Hey, is Rick's earpiece working?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay, good. Thank God. So I can go to my next question to you. Before we go, Rick, I just have to ask you, and I'm worried about your earpiece because I want you to hear this next question, because you wrote two of the best books, I think, about the conservative movement in Before the Storm and Nixon Land. And I even read Buchanan saying, he may be a liberal, but he's okay. Nixon Land's great, Joe. They are incredible books. I'm just curious, drawing a line from what you wrote about Barry Goldwater's campaign in '64 and Nixon in '68 and '72. I'm curious what you're thinking about 2017 and how much of what we're seeing today started with what you first started writing about in 1964.
Well, Joe, all will be explained in Volume 4 of my series, and coming out in about a year, it's going to be called Reagan Land. So, you heard it here first. It's all of a piece, historians trying to draw continuities, but we also, see contrasts. So, I have that boring historian answer that it's complicated.
Got it.
It is complicated.
Best-selling author Rick Perlstein, thank you very much.
That's fascinating, Rick.
And coming up, when it comes to the war in Afghanistan...
Wait, hold on. Were you trying to say something?
Are you interrupting me again?
No, I just want to know if you say, because if you want to say something that's important to me.
I know, you want to hear everything.
Can you was there anything else that you wanted to say? Because you said Kamala Harris could stand up, and I heard that. I just
look, Andrew's having
I would feel horrible if Rick, because Rick thought that I interrupted.
I think Kamala Harris, though, I do think she can be a force to be reckoned with, and she's waiting for her moment. But I hear ya.
I think, you know what? I think you're right. You're always right, though.
Can the Trump administration figure out
have you ever not been right, sweetie?
Oh, God, don't do that. No, that's a no. That's a no.
We just crossed the line.
Oh, my God.
Done that.
We really did.
We haven't really done that since we've been engaged, but it's almost...
No!
You know what it's like? It's like everybody's seen the grandparents kissing. And we understand that. We're old people. Nobody wants to see that.
Nobody wants to know, Joe.
Nobody wants to see that.
Anything.
What, that we're engaged?
No! Stop. Don't talk about it.
Look, you got a ring on. What? Do you think Noah gave you that ring? No. Oh, yeah, we're engaged.
Andrea, what about North Korea? Can we talk about North Korea?
When the vice president arrived in Alaska, he said something very, very important. This is the highest level meeting if it does take place.
So, by the way, we have just proven what we've always said. When people ask about us personally, we're like really old people.
Yeah.
No. You really need to...
Not to me or not.
You really need to act like Beyonce. Sonny boy. Anyway.
Okay, wow. You just did that.
I just did what?
Nothing.
Cross the line.
Touch
Broke
my
the
hand.
ice.
I touched your hand. I'm sorry.
Wait till we're married.
Okay.
Okay.
And the Trump administration figure out...